It was actually written back in 1928 about a street here in New Orleans. How many of our streets have a history behind them, including Basin Street? It was written by a gentleman by the name of Spencer Williams. Now, why about Basin Street? It was made famous by Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Prima, and even recently, Harry Connick Jr., John Bouteé, and even the great Dr. John. But Basin Street is only one block outside of the French Quarter. But it was a boundary for a red light district known as Storyville that operated as our red light district from 1897 to 1917, the start of World War I. The federal government made the city shut it down because we had a Navy base here. And let's just say too many of those Navy men were missing way too much work and bringing home a gift to their wives, the one that keeps on giving. That's okay, huh? Okay. So, Spencer Williams, who wrote the song initially, like I say, didn't write it until 1928 and first recorded by Louis Armstrong. Now, that's 11 years after Storyville was shut down. But why would he write a song about a street? Well, lo and behold, Spencer Williams did grow up on Basin Street in one of the brothels owned by his aunt, Lulu White. One of the more successful brothels in Storyville along Basin Street. The more fabulous ones were along that main street, just again, one block outside of the French Quarter. Lulu White was successful. Now keep in mind, this is the late 1800s, early 1900s. Why would they create a red light district? It was an effort to help clean up the French Quarter. Now who would want to do that? Although it's pretty clean now during the pandemic times, right? But create a district to help keep all the women within that district that were working as what I prefer to call comfort women. Okay, let's be respectful. Many of these women they were uneducated, they had no means to get a job, they couldn't be an attorney, a doctor, a lawyer, and they found themselves in a life of prostitution. Now, Lulu White, being the aunt of Spencer Williams, he leaves when he's about 18 years old in the early 1900s. He goes on to Chicago and writes this song. It's changed over the years, different lyrics have been brought into it, but perhaps he did want to have some tribute to his aunt. And Lulu I found to be a very interesting person. One thing about her success, you can't measure it in total dollars because, of course, this was a cash operation. No gentleman wanted to go home with any receipts in his pocket either, no credit cards. But her wardrobe back in the early 1900s was valued at $5,000. I don't think my wardrobe today is valued at $50. But anyway, the early 1900s, a $5,000 reward. Lulu came from Alabama in the latter part of the 1800s. She was born around 1868 and 20 plus years made her way here to New Orleans, and she first shows up in the city directories in 1888. She builds this magnificent empire called Mahogany Hall, pardon me. The more successful brothels were outfitted with marble fireplaces, with a lot of wonderful wood, mirrors, everything being imported. And there were so many women, they estimate some 2,000 women worked in the red light district. Now, she had her problems. She had been arrested many, many times. Oh, perhaps for that little comfort woman empire she had built, selling alcohol illegally, and even attempted murder. She was sentenced to jail for about a year. But President Woodrow Wilson at the time pardoned her. Yes, only in New Orleans do you have a red light district, a famous madam pardoned by the President of the United States. And only in New Orleans is your red light district located right next to your Catholic cemetery. Yes, surrounding St. Louis Cemetery number 1. If you're not from here, you've never been here, you should tour that area. Come find me, I'll give you a tour and talk about Storyville. So much music came out of Storyville. When it was shut down, musicians found their way to Chicago, New York, San Francisco, so our music made it around the country as well. But again, perhaps Spencer Williams, who initially wrote the song, or first wrote the song, and it had been enhanced many years over time, he was perhaps paying some tribute to his Aunt Lulu. So may she rest in peace. She died in 1931. After serving her 3 months in jail, she went right back to the business. Eventually, Storyville buildings, none of them exist any longer, except for maybe 3 of them. And here's a pun for you. They're all quick stops now, Matt. All quick stops. What's left of them. But she did continue to operate her brothel until her death in 1931. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to the band. Thank you very much for having me. I hope you've enjoyed a little story time with the psalm. We wanted to connect the psalm with the location here in New Orleans. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Cassidy. Thank you, Karen.
Karen Fernandez. Give her a hand. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you.
Masterfully done, as always. Ooh, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's Basin Street Blues. Yes, it's a good one. It's a good one.